The road outside E-Rantel was quiet in the way that made even insects sound loud. A wagon sat on the dirt path with a broken wheel. Two merchants argued in low voices. A small lantern hung from a hook and swayed with the night wind. Then the sky above them split. It was not lightning. It was not a storm. It was a clean, dark tear, like someone had cut the air with a sharp blade. No sound came at first, just a slow pull, like the world was taking a breath. A man dropped out of it. He did not fall like a normal person. He turned in the air, feet down, and landed with one knee bent. The ground did not shake. The lantern flame did not even go out. It was too controlled. He stood up and looked around. His face was calm. His eyes were alert. His black coat moved a little as if it had its own weight. For 1 second he looked at the sky, like he expected a message to appear there. Nothing appeared. He touched his chest once. A habit. A check. The merchants stared. One of them whispered a prayer, because there were only 2 answers that made sense to him. Either this was an angel, or this was a demon. The man took 1 step toward the wagon. A shadow under the wagon stretched longer than it should. It moved like a living thing. The lantern light did not change, but the darkness did. Before the merchants could speak, a voice shouted from the trees, "Hey, easy money." 5 men stepped out with clubs and rusty swords. Bandits. They had been watching the wagon for a while. The tear in the sky did not scare them as much as it should have. Fear worked slow on stupid people. "New guy," the leader said. "Drop anything shiny. And you 2 toss the coin pouch." The calm man did not answer. He looked at the bandits like a hunter looks at animals that wandered too close. Not hate. Not anger. Just a quick judgment. The bandits rushed. To the merchants, it was like the world jumped. One moment the calm man was on the road. The next moment he was behind the first bandit. A black blade flashed in his hand. The bandit's body stopped moving, like strings had been cut. The second bandit swung a club. The calm man leaned to the side by inches. The club hit nothing but air. The calm man's elbow hit the bandit's throat with a short, sharp motion. The bandit dropped, choking and terrified. The other 3 tried to circle him. The shadows under their feet rose. Not smoke, not fog. Soldiers. They came up from the ground as if the earth itself opened a door. Black armor shapes. Empty eyes that still somehow felt like they were staring. One of them was taller than the rest. It carried itself like a captain. The bandits froze. The calm man spoke at last, and his voice was quiet. "Leave," he told them. The leader laughed. Because he had to. Pride is a trap that closes around your neck. He lifted his sword and charged. The tall shadow soldier moved first. It hit the leader with a single punch. The leader flew backward and slammed into a tree. The tree bark cracked. The man fell limp. The last 2 bandits ran. They did not get far. A shadow stepped from one patch of darkness to another, cutting them off. Another shadow soldier appeared behind them without a sound. A clean strike. Both went down. The merchant screamed and tried to crawl away. The calm man raised one hand. "Stay," he said. The word was not magic, but it felt heavy. The merchants stopped moving, not because they were forced, but because their fear told them this was the kind of person you listened to. The calm man walked to the bandit leader's body. His eyes narrowed. He was testing something, checking a rule. He placed his hand near the body's shadow. The darkness under the corpse swelled, then rose like water climbing up a wall. A new soldier stood up. The bandit's shape was there, but it was wrong now. No fear, no pain, just loyalty. It bowed its head slightly toward the calm man. The merchants made a choking sound. One of them started to cry. "Undead," the older merchant whispered. The calm man looked back at them. His face did not soften much, but his voice stayed calm. "I'm not here for you," he said. "Fix your wheel, then go." The younger merchant swallowed. "Who are you?" The calm man did not answer with a name. He looked past them, toward the distant lights of E-Rantel. He could feel people there. He could feel the shape of this world. It was different from his own. The air had power in it, like a thin layer of invisible heat. But it was not the system. It was something else. He turned away from the wagon. The shadows around him gathered like a cloak. Then he stepped into the darkness under the broken wagon and vanished. The lantern swayed again, and the road was empty. High in the trees, something with golden eyes watched the whole thing in silence. It was not human. It did not breathe the way humans did. It made no sound as it moved. It ran. Not toward E-Rantel. Toward a place where a king sat on a throne beneath the earth. In the great tomb of Nazareth, the air always felt controlled. Even silence seemed trained. Ain's Uel gown sat on his throne, skeleton fingers resting on the armrest. The throne room was huge, with tall pillars and a red carpet that led to him like a road. Albedo stood at his right side, perfect posture, eyes burning with devotion. Demiurge stood lower on the steps, hands folded, smile polite and sharp. Aura and Mare waited near the side, quiet and ready. Ain stared forward, trying to look like a ruler who was never confused. Inside, his mind ran fast. Another report, another unknown, another problem that could kill us if I mess up. A floor guardian kneeled and spoke quickly. Aura's beast reported an anomaly near E-Rantel. A man fell from a tier in the sky. He killed bandits without effort. He raised the dead as shadow soldiers. Ain's skullface could not show it, but he felt the chill of it in his thoughts. Necromancy? No, those aren't standard undead. Those look like shadows. Albedo's voice snapped like a blade. A new undead king. How dare he appear in your lands, Ain-sama? Demiurge's smile widened a little. It may be a rare chance as well, a power not listed in any known tier spell list. Aura leaned forward, curious. My beast said the shadows moved like trained troops, not like a messy summon. Mare held his staff with both hands. Sounds scary. Ain's lifted one bony hand, stopping them. Calm, he said, deep and steady. He thanked every lucky star that he had learned to sound calm, even when he wasn't. He turned to Demiurge. Any immediate guesses? Demiurge's eyes gleamed behind his glasses. 3 main possibilities. 1. A YGG Dracal entity or player class being. 2. Wild magic or Dragon Lord interference. 3. A new system entirely. Albedo took a step forward. We eliminate him. Ain's did not respond right away. He wanted to say yes, because yes was simple. But simple got you killed when you lived by unknown rules. No, Ain said. We observe first. Albedo froze, then bowed. As you command. Ain's looked down at the report again. A man who moved too fast. A man who could raise the dead without chant or magic circles. If he is a player, then he might have world items. Or worse, knowledge. Demiurge spoke softly, like he was offering a gift. We can create a controlled test. A situation with civilians. See how he acts. See what he prioritizes. Ain's eyes narrowed. No unnecessary harm. Of course, Demiurge said, smiling in the exact way that always made Ain's nervous. Aura tilted her head. What do we call him? Albedo's lips curled. A trespasser. Demiurge tapped his finger once. A shadow-based necromancer. Aura grinned. Shadow King. The word hung in the air. It sounded like a title, not a person. Ain's felt something strange in his mind. A title means someone will try to fill it. He nodded once. For now, we will call him that. Albedo's eyes shone. Ain-sama, I will personally. Ain's raised a hand again. Not yet. I want information. Demiurge bowed. Then allow me to assign a plan. Ain's braced himself. Explain. Demiurge stepped forward and spoke in clean points, like he was reading a list. We will place discreet observers around E-Rantel. Aura's beasts, invisible units, and perhaps a few human agents. We will trigger a staged incident. A monster attack is best. It will draw him out if his actions near the bandits show a pattern of protecting civilians. Ain stared. He saved civilians? Or he just didn't care? Ain's asked. What if he doesn't show? Then we lose nothing, Demiurge said. But if he shows, we gain data. Albedo cut in. If he shows, we kill him. Ainz looked at her. If necessary. Albedo's jaw tightened, but she bowed. Ainz continued. I want to know what he is. I want to know what he wants. And I want to know how he reacts to Nazarick. He did not say the last part out loud, but it was there in his mind. And I want to know if he is like me. Demiurge's smile softened into something almost friendly. Ainz-sama, shall we prepare a formal approach as well? If he is intelligent, he may respond to diplomacy. If he is prideful, he may respond to a challenge. If he is lonely, Ainz cut him off. One step at a time. Aura looked bored already. So we just watch? For now, Ainz said. Watch, learn, and do not provoke him without orders. He glanced toward a stack of papers near the throne. Reports, requests, titles, duties. Even without a Shadow King, I have enough problems. Albedo noticed his glance and snapped her fingers. A servant scurried to pick up the papers. Ainz felt a tiny wave of relief. Then he remembered the report again, and it vanished. On a rooftop in E-Rantel, a man crouched like a shadow that chose to have a body. Jin-Woo watched the town. The walls were high. Guards walked with spears. Lanterns glowed in a steady line. People moved like they were used to fear, but also used to living anyway. He could hear them talk. Different words, different sounds. But he understood. It came naturally now, like his mind adjusted. He had learned languages before, in worse places. He listened for anything familiar. A gate opening, a dungeon hum, a system notification. Nothing. No blue screens, no quests, no daily checks. Just the quiet pulse of a world that used magic like breathing. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed. This wasn't a normal shift. This wasn't a dungeon. This was a different world. His shadow under the roof moved. It was not restless. It was waiting. Behind him, more shadows gathered in the thin line between rooftop and night sky. They were careful not to show. They did not exist to scare people. They existed to obey. Jin-Woo thought of one simple rule that had kept him alive. Learn first, move second. He sent a single shadow soldier down the alley, melting into darkness. His army did not need loud orders. They understood him the way his own hands understood his thoughts. Jin-Woo watched a patrol pass. He noticed the armor type, the way they held their spears, the way they checked corners. Not weak, not strong, trained enough. This world has standards, he thought. That meant it had people who controlled those standards. He saw a banner, a crest. He didn't know it yet, but he memorized it anyway. Then he felt it. A presence. Not from the town. From below. Deep below. It was not a single person. It was a place filled with powerful beings. Their combined weight pressed on the world like a storm cloud held in a box. Jin-Woo stayed still. His face did not change, but his thoughts sharpened. So there's a den of monsters here too. Not a dungeon. Not a gate. A home. He watched the town again and saw something else. Fear that didn't match the street. People acted like they had already accepted that some things were unfair, like they had learned to keep their heads down. Jin-Woo's jaw tightened slightly. He didn't like that. He moved away from the edge of the roof and vanished into a shadow again, choosing a path no eyes would follow. In Nazarick, Sebastian walked with quiet steps through a hallway that shone like a polished dream. He carried himself like a butler, but his eyes were those of a man who had seen war. He had been assigned a simple task. Observe and report. He did not love it. He preferred direct action. He preferred helping people. But he understood Ainz's caution. Nazarick had enemies. Nazarick had secrets. And now, Nazarick had a new unknown. Sebas reached a room where a map lay on a table. Marked points showed sightings near E-Rantel. He studied them. Bandits killed. Civilians spared. No burning. No pointless cruelty. That pattern mattered. Sebas spoke to himself in a low voice. If this Shadow King wanted chaos, there would already be bodies in the street. A voice behind him answered, smooth and amused. Or he wants people to think he is kind. Sebas turned. Demiurge stood in the doorway, hands folded. Sebas did not flinch, but he did not relax either. That is possible. Demiurge stepped in. I am pleased you see many angles. Sebas replied carefully. I see what is in front of me. Demiurge's smile did not change. And what is in front of you? Sebas looked back down at the map. A being with power and restraint. Demiurge's eyes gleamed. Restraint can be broken. Sebas met his gaze. Or it can be chosen. For a moment, the hallway felt colder. Then Demiurge chuckled softly, like the conversation was a game he enjoyed. We will see, he said. The test begins soon. Sebas watched him leave. He did not like tests that used people like pieces. But he also knew this. If the Shadow King truly was a threat, then a test might save lives later. Sebas sighed once, then walked away to prepare his own plan. Not to trap the newcomer. To be there, in case someone needed saving. Far away from E-Rantel, in a place where holy symbols covered stone walls, a council met in quiet fury. A man in white robes placed a report on a table. The undead king sighting is confirmed, he said. But the undead are strange, shadows, not standard summons. A woman with hard eyes tapped the table. Another monster rises, and right when the sorcerer king grows bolder, a third voice spoke from the darkness near the wall. If the sorcerer king gains him as an ally, we may lose all chance. Silence. Then the leader said, We will not allow it. A metal case was opened. Inside was a relic that felt wrong to look at, even for them. A world-class tool. A tool meant for kings. Prepare the scripture, the leader ordered. If he is a beast, we leash him. If he is a man, we break him. If he is something else. They did not finish the sentence, because the thought itself was scary. By the time Demiurge's staged incident began, the wind outside E-Rantel carried the smell of iron. A merchant line moved along a road, guarded by hired adventurers. A family rode in a smaller cart. 2 children argued about a toy soldier. In the trees, something waited. A low growl rolled through the dark, deep and heavy. A monster stepped onto the road. It was not a normal beast. It was large, with thick skin and a mouth full of flat, crushing teeth. It had the look of a creature that had survived many fights. The guards shouted. Adventurers spread out. Steel blades rose. Spells began to form. And hidden far away, Aura watched through her beast's eyes. Okay, she whispered. Let's see if he shows. In Nazarick, Ainz watched through a scrying spell, his face still and unreadable. Inside, he was tense. Please don't be a player. Please don't be a player. The monster charged the merchant line. A shield went up. The impact shoved the guard backward. The family cart shook. The children screamed. Then the shadows on the ground moved. A man stepped out of them like he had been there the whole time. Jin-Woo's boots hit the dirt softly, his eyes locked on the monster. He did not speak to the merchants. He did not announce himself. He simply moved. His body blurred forward. His dagger struck the monster's side. The blade cut deep, like the hide was paper. The monster roared and swung a claw. Jin-Woo ducked under it and slid past the beast's legs. He rose behind it, calm as a machine. Then black soldiers rose from the road. 5, 10, more. They formed a half circle between the monster and the merchant line, a wall of silent shapes. The adventurers froze. Some of them lowered their weapons by accident. One whispered, Necromancer. Another whispered, King. Jin-Woo ignored them. His focus stayed on the threat. He snapped his fingers once. The shadow soldiers attacked as one. They did not swarm like animals. They moved like troops. Some grabbed the monster's limbs. Others struck joints. One climbed onto its back to hold its head down. The monster fought wildly, smashing a soldier into the ground. The shadow soldier broke apart like smoke. Then it reformed behind the monster, already returning to battle. The monster did not understand. It panicked. It tried to flee. Jin-Woo appeared in front of it again, stepping from one shadow to another. He lifted his dagger and slashed across the monster's throat. The monster dropped, choking, blood pouring into dirt. The merchant family stared. The children forgot to scream. Their mouths hung open. Jin-Woo looked at the monster's shadow. He paused. He could raise it, but he felt something wrong. Not from the monster, from the world around them. like eyes were on him from many directions. His shadow soldier captain stood beside him, waiting for the order. Jin-Woo did not speak, but his choice was clear. Not here. He turned slightly toward the merchants. "Leave," he said, voice quiet but firm. "Now." The guards didn't argue. They didn't know why. They just obeyed. The carts moved. Wheels squeaked. People ran. And that was when the second trap sprang. From the trees, figures in white and gold stepped out. They moved with discipline and confidence. Their faces were covered. Their weapons were clean. Their eyes were cold. One of them raised a staff and shouted words that made the air tighten. A shining circle formed around Jin-Woo and his shadows. It wasn't a cage of metal, it was a cage of rules. Jin-Woo felt it immediately. Something here tried to stop movement through shadows. Interesting, he thought. So they planned this. The white gold figures spread out. One held a strange metal case. Another held chains that glowed faintly. Their leader stepped forward, voice loud. "Unknown undead king," he declared. "By the authority of the holy nation you will be seized." Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed. "Undead king? So that's what they think I am." He glanced at his shadow soldiers. They stood still, waiting. Jin-Woo spoke in a calm voice. "Move." His shadows surged. They hit the barrier. The barrier did not shatter, but it shook. Light cracked across it like thin glass lines. The scripture members flinched. One of them stumbled back. His summons are pressuring it. Hold formation. Ainz watched through his spell and his mind went quiet for 1 second. That barrier is not normal tier magic. Demiurge's smile was visible even through the scrying view in Ainz's mind. He whispered to himself. So the third party arrives. Ainz did not like that Demiurge sounded pleased. On the road, Jin-Woo stepped forward and placed his hand on the air. He did not feel a wall. He felt resistance, like pushing into deep water. He pushed harder. The barrier screamed with light. The scripture leader barked. "Now." The metal case opened. Inside was a crown-like object, thin and cruel. It looked like a ring meant to sit on a head. The air around it felt heavy, like it wanted to pull thoughts into it. Even Jin-Woo's shadows paused for half a beat. The leader held it high. "This relic can bind even kings," he said. "Kneel." The crown shot forward like a thrown hook. It aimed for Jin-Woo's head. Jin-Woo moved. Not away. Through. He stepped into his own shadow, but the barrier fought him. For the first time since arriving, the shadow step did not feel smooth. It was like trying to run through mud. The crown grazed his hair. For half a second, Jin-Woo felt something touch his mind. Not a voice. A hand. A hand trying to turn his thoughts into a leash. Jin-Woo's eyes flashed cold. He had been weak once. He had been controlled once. He had been used by stronger things. Never again. A wave of darkness burst from his body. The shadow around him expanded like a sudden night. The crown snapped back, as if it had hit a wall. The scripture members cried out. "What is that?" It rejected the relic. The leader's eyes widened in fear, but he forced his voice steady. "Don't hesitate, suppress him." They attacked. Spells flew like spears of light. Chains whipped forward. A spear struck a shadow soldier and pinned it. The pinned shadow soldier melted and reformed elsewhere. Jin-Woo's army spread, pressing on every angle of the barrier. Some soldiers piled onto one point, cracking it further. Jin-Woo moved like a black streak, using short steps and fast cuts. He didn't waste effort. He didn't play. He hit a chain wielder's arm with the flat of his blade, not to kill, but to break grip. The chain dropped. A shadow hand grabbed it and pulled it into darkness. He struck the ground once, and a shadow rose beneath a mage, flipping him onto his back. The scripture leader roared, "Kill him if you must." Jin-Woo's gaze sharpened. "So they'll murder me if they can't own me." That was enough. He made a small gesture. A massive shadow rose behind him, bigger than the soldiers, denser, like a wall of night given shape. The scripture members faltered. One whispered, voice shaking, "That's not a summon. That feels like a monarch." Jin-Woo spoke, still quiet. "Break it." The giant shadow struck the barrier with a punch. The circle of light shattered. It didn't explode outward. It cracked and fell apart like broken glass made of air. The road was free again. The scripture members reacted fast. They knew what happened when a cage broke. They scattered. They threw up new spells. Smoke, light, a wall of holy symbols. Jin-Woo didn't chase blindly. He looked past them. The merchant line was still escaping. The family cart had reached a curve in the road. Good. Now he could fight without risking them. He stepped forward and vanished into shadow. He appeared behind two scripture members and struck both in the back of the neck, dropping them fast. A third swung a blessed blade at him. Jin-Woo caught the wrist. His grip was iron. The scripture member's eyes went wide. Jin-Woo leaned close enough that the man could see his calm face clearly. "I'm not undead," Jin-Woo said. Then he released the wrist and kicked the man away with one clean motion. The man flew and rolled across the dirt, coughing. The leader screamed, "Do not listen, he lies." But the problem wasn't Jin-Woo's words. The problem was Jin-Woo's control. He wasn't acting like a mindless undead caster. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't showing off. He was acting like a soldier who had fought real wars. The leader reached for the relic again, hands shaking now. Jin-Woo appeared in front of him. The leader flinched and tried to lift the crown. Jin-Woo slapped the leader's hand aside and grabbed the relic itself. The metal was cold enough to sting. For a second, it pushed back against his grip. It wanted to bite into his thoughts. Jin-Woo's shadows surged up his arm like armor. The relic's pressure stopped, like a predator realizing it had picked the wrong prey. Jin-Woo looked at the leader. "You came to take me," Jin-Woo said. "Why?" The leader's eyes were wild. "Because if we don't, you will become the Sorcerer King's weapon." Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed slightly. Sorcerer King. So the monster den has a king's name. Behind Jin-Woo, the air shifted. Not a spell, not an attack. A presence watching. Jin-Woo did not turn, but he felt it like a blade near his neck. Far away, through the scrying spell, Ainz leaned forward slightly on his throne. He saw it too. Jin-Woo holding a world-class relic like it was a piece of scrap metal. Ainz's mind ran. If that relic works on players, and it failed on him, what is he? Demiurge's voice drifted softly. "Ainz-sama, do you see how valuable he could be?" Ainz did not answer, because Ainz was thinking of something else. If he can resist that, then my usual safeguards may not work. On the road, the leader suddenly spat a word and activated a hidden charm. A burst of light exploded at Jin-Woo's feet. The scripture members used the moment to retreat into the trees, dragging their fallen. Jin-Woo stepped back, not harmed, but annoyed. The leader ran too. Jin-Woo could have chased. He could have cut them down in seconds. But he looked toward the curve where the merchants fled. And he looked toward the deep presence in the distance. Two priorities. He made his choice. He threw the relic into his shadow, storing it away where no one could grab it. Then he lifted his hand. His shadows froze, then melted back into the ground one by one, like soldiers being dismissed. To the scripture members watching from the trees, it looked like a king ending a war with a gesture. Jin-Woo stepped into the darkness and vanished. The road went quiet again, except for the monster's dead body and blood on dirt. In the great tomb of Nazareth, Ainz sat back slowly. Albedo's voice shook with anger. "Ainz-sama, give the order. We must destroy him." Aura's eyes were wide. "He took that relic like it was nothing." Mare whispered, "He didn't kill the civilians. He protected them." Demiurge smiled, pleased in a way that made the air feel sharp. "He is not simple. He is not careless. He is a king with rules." Ainz stared at the scrying view that was now empty. He spoke with careful calm. "Prepare a formal contact plan." Albedo stiffened. "You mean, talk to him?" "Yes," Ainz said. Inside, his thoughts were loud. Because if we treat him like a beast, we might create a beast. And because somewhere out there, a Shadow King now knows a Sorcerer King exists. The world had changed. And it was only the beginning. The rumors did not travel like normal rumors. They moved like fire. By sunrise, E-Rantel was full of whispers. Tavern keepers leaned close to customers. Guards spoke in low voices at gates. Adventurers argued in the guild hall with fists on tables. A man fell out of the sky. He made shadows stand up like soldiers. He stole a holy relic. He broke a cage made of light. Most people did not agree on the details, but they agreed on one thing. Someone new had entered their world, and he did not fit the rules. In the market street, a mother pulled her child closer when a patch of shadow stretched too long under a cart. In a butcher shop, a man refused to step into a dark corner. A baker hung an extra lantern near his door and joked that he was paying rent to the sun. No one laughed much. The Sorcerer Kingdom's soldiers stayed steady on patrol. They did not panic. They did not shout. They looked like they had been trained to ignore fear. That made the citizens even more nervous, because when trained soldiers act calm, it usually means someone powerful has already noticed the danger. And in a throne room deep below the ground, someone had. Ainz Ulgaun sat on his throne and stared at a new pile of papers. The pile was larger than the pile from yesterday. Albedo stood beside him, smiling with sharp pride. Ainz-sama, I have prepared new titles for your next public decree. Ainz's skull face did not move. Inside, he screamed. More titles, more speeches, more meetings. I am going to die from paperwork. Can undead die from paperwork? Demiurge stood below the steps, hands folded, eyes bright. Ainz-sama, the people will also want a statement about the Shadow King. Aura leaned on her staff. They already gave him a cool nickname. That was fast. Mare shifted his feet. Should we stop them from saying it? Albedo's voice sharpened. We should stop him from breathing. Ainz raised one hand. The room went silent. First, Ainz said, give me a clean report. A servant stepped forward and offered a folder. On the front, someone had written in neat ink, Shadow King unknown entity. Ainz wanted to throw it into a volcano. He opened it anyway. Demiurge spoke in clear points, like he was reading a plan off a board. The theocracy attempted a binding tool. It failed. The Shadow King took the item and withdrew. He showed restraint. He did not slaughter the retreating group, even when he could. Albedo's eyes burned. Restraint means nothing. He stole an artifact meant for holy hands. Aura frowned. Or he took a weapon away from people who tried to use it on him. Albedo snapped her head toward Aura. Be careful. Ainz cleared his throat, as if he still had one. What is the situation in the city? Demiurge's smile was polite. Fear is increasing. Not chaos yet. But fear is a seed. It can grow into many things. Ainz hated how true that sounded. He tapped one bony finger on the armrest. Then we will not let it grow out of control. Albedo leaned forward. Give me permission. I will find him. Ainz did not answer right away. He pictured Albedo meeting an unknown king in the dark. It would not be a talk. It would be a war. Ainz looked at Sebas, who stood quietly near a pillar. Sebas had not spoken yet. He never pushed without reason. Sebas, Ainz said, your thoughts. Sebas bowed. Ainz-sama. His actions so far show a pattern. He protected civilians. He used force with care. I believe he is intelligent and guided by a personal code. Demiurge nodded slightly, as if he enjoyed hearing that phrase. Albedo's lips curled. A code can break. Sebas met her gaze. So can a leash. For a second, the air felt tense. Ainz raised his hand again. Enough. He looked down at the report. A being who could resist a binding tool. A being who moved through shadows. A being who carried an army like it was part of his body. If he wanted to destroy my kingdom, he would not need a long plan. That thought made Ainz's mind go cold. He forced himself to focus on what mattered. What does he want? Ainz spoke slowly, careful with each word. We will attempt contact, formal, controlled. No traps that risk civilians. Demiurge smiled. As you wish, Ainz-sama. A neutral setting can be arranged. Albedo's voice was tight. And if he refuses? Ainz's eyes glowed faintly. Then we continue to watch. We do not rush into a fight we do not understand. Aura sighed. So we do nothing. Ainz corrected her. We prepare. He glanced at the paper pile again. Then, because he could not help himself, he added, and someone please stop giving strangers royal titles. It makes everything worse. Aura blinked. But Shadow King is kind of worse, Ainz repeated. Demiurge smiled wider. Understood, Ainz-sama. We will refer to him as the anomaly. Ainz felt no relief at all. Above ground, in the shadows between buildings, Jin-Woo listened. He sat on a roof edge where no one looked up. A cold wind moved across the tiles. The sun was up, but the light felt thin. His shadow soldiers were spread out across the city in small numbers, not to scare people, not to rule, to learn. Jin-Woo watched a guard talk to a merchant. He watched a priest walk quickly across a street, eyes darting. He heard his new name, Shadow King. He did not like it. Names in a world like this were hooks. People used them to pull you into their plans. He touched the inside of his coat. The relic was not there physically. It was stored in his shadow space, where his soldiers waited in silence. He could feel the relic's shape like a sharp stone underwater. He had tested it at night, when no one was near. He had held it again, and let it press against his mind. It had tried to wrap around his thoughts like a chain. It failed. Still, the attempt had taught him something important. This world had tools that did not play fair. They would not beat him by strength. They would beat him by rules. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed. He thought of the deep presence he had felt after the fight. A place full of power. A place with a king's name in human mouths. Sorcerer King. That sounded like a ruler. And rulers did not like unknown kings walking into their land. A shadow soldier appeared behind Jin-Woo like a quiet step. It bowed. Jin-Woo did not speak. He gave a thought. The soldier melted into the rooftop shadow again and carried the command away. Keep watching the holy group. Find where they go. Find what they want. Jin-Woo looked down at the streets. Fear moved through the people like a slow tide. He didn't care about being feared. He cared about what fear made people do. Fear made them hurt the wrong targets. Fear made them follow the wrong leaders. And fear made powerful groups do desperate things. Jin-Woo stood and stepped into shadow. He vanished, leaving only sunlight on roof tiles. In a stone room lined with symbols, the theocracy's leaders met again. The mood was not anger now. It was panic dressed up as control. A man slammed his palm on the table. You lost it. The scripture leader who had been on the road stood stiff. His face was pale. The relic rejected him. He seized it with his bare hand. A woman with hard eyes spoke slowly. Then he is either protected by a power we do not understand, or he is the very thing the relic was made to bind. Silence. A fourth leader leaned back. If he becomes the Sorcerer King's ally, we cannot win any future war. Another voice answered from the side. He may not be allied. He may be alone. The room turned toward that speaker. It was a thin man with a calm expression. He looked like a scholar more than a commander. He continued. He did not slaughter our retreat. He did not chase. He did not take civilians. He did not announce himself. That is not how a proud conqueror behaves. The hard-eyed woman narrowed her gaze. So what do you suggest? The thin man's voice stayed calm. We should not try to leash him directly again. We should force him to move in a way we choose. By what method? The table slammer demanded. The thin man placed a small map down. There are villages on the edge of Sorcerer Kingdom influence. Weak protection, high fear. If disaster strikes there, the Sorcerer King will be blamed. If the Shadow Man stops it, he will be exposed. If he fails, he did not finish, because he didn't need to. Someone else finished for him. Then people will hate him. The thin man nodded. And hate makes recruitment easier. The hard-eyed woman spoke. We cannot allow him to disappear again. We need proof. We need patterns. We need weaknesses. The table slammer grinned. Then we bait him. They began to plan. And the plan was not about killing Jin-Woo. It was about shaping the world around him until he had no good choices left. Far away, In a place with ancient stone and older silence, a suit of armor stood in a hidden chamber. It looked like a hero's armor, bright and proud. But the eyes inside it were not human eyes. They were the eyes of something old. The armor moved one hand, slowly, and a thin ripple passed through the air. Information. A message. A name. Shadow King. The being inside the armor felt the world's balance tilt. It did not know what Jin-Woo was. It did not care about titles. It cared about threats that could break the world. It remembered players. It remembered world items. It remembered ruin. The armor turned its head toward the distant direction of E-Rantel. If another one has arrived, the being thought, then the cycle may begin again. And it began to prepare, not with emotion, but with cold caution. In Nazareth, the contact plan was being written like a contract. Ains listened to Demiurge outline safe meeting options, which sounded a lot like traps with polite bows on top. Ains interrupted twice to remove parts that sounded too cruel. Then Albedo added 3 more security measures that sounded like traps again. Ains removed those too. At some point, Oro whispered to Mare, "If they keep writing plans, the shadow guy will die of old age." Mare nodded nervously. Ains heard them and pretended he didn't. He turned toward Sebas. "You will be the face of the first contact. You are calm. And you look human." Sebas bowed. "Yes, Ains-sama." Albedo's smile looked forced. "Ains-sama, allow me to accompany him." Ains paused. He imagined Albedo's temper flaring in a second. One wrong word from the unknown king, and the meeting would become a massacre. "No," Ains said, "not for the first approach." Albedo's eyes widened, wounded. Then she bowed, slowly. "As you command." Demiurge watched her like he was studying a knife. Ains stood more for show than need. "We will offer knowledge. A neutral meeting, no threats. But we will be ready if he attacks." He said it like a king. Inside, he said something else. "Please don't attack." Ains sat back down and looked at the papers again. One of the servants offered him a new form. It was labeled, "Request to add Shadow King policy to Civil Code." Ains stared at it. He did not blink. He could not blink. He waved it away. That night, trouble began on the edge of the Sorcerer Kingdom. A small village sat near a forest line. People lived simple lives. They kept animals. They prayed. They feared the next war more than the next storm. A group of bandits arrived, but they were too clean. Their blades were too well kept. Their movements were too sharp. They killed a guard in one strike and dragged a man out of his home in front of his family. They did not take much money. They took time. They took fear. They lit a house on fire and left, not because they needed to, but because they wanted the village to scream into the night. A child ran toward the trees. A shadow on the ground stretched toward the child like a hand. The child froze, tears in her eyes. A man stepped out of the dark beside her. Black coat, calm eyes, no panic. Jin-Woo looked at the burning house. Then he looked at the attackers, already moving away. He did not need to guess why this was happening. Someone was pulling a string. He said one word, quiet and sharp. "Follow." Shadows slid through grass and dirt like silent wolves. Jin-Woo walked into the village. People backed away, staring. One old woman fell to her knees and whispered, "Undead King." Jin-Woo didn't correct her. He ran his eyes over the wounded. His mind measured the scene like a battlefield. This is bait. He felt the fear in his chest, and it wasn't fear for himself. It was the old fear that if he waited, someone innocent would die. He reached the burning house. A child cried inside. Jin-Woo stepped forward. The heat hit him in the face. The roof groaned. He walked through the doorway as if it was just another door. Inside, smoke filled the air. A beam cracked and fell. Jin-Woo raised his arm. A shadow rose and caught the beam, holding it like a black pillar. He found the child, lifted her easily, and carried her out. The villagers watched in shocked silence. A monster saved them, or a man wearing the shape of one. Jin-Woo set the child down gently and turned his gaze toward the forest. His shadows had already found the trail. He stepped into the darkness cast by the burning house and disappeared. And the village was left with a new kind of rumor. Not just that a Shadow King existed, but that he came when people screamed. He caught the attackers at a broken stone bridge. They were waiting. Not hiding. Waiting. That told Jin-Woo everything. A circle of symbols was carved into the dirt. Thin posts stood around it like bones. As Jin-Woo stepped onto the bridge, the air thickened. A pressure wrapped around the shadows near his feet. A sealing field. Not the same as before, but similar. This time it was wider. And it was ready. Figures stepped out from behind the rocks. Not bandits now. Soldiers in clean gear. Priests with hard eyes. One held a scroll. Another held a small box. Jin-Woo stood in the middle of the bridge, calm. He did not draw his blade yet. A man with a gold-trimmed mantle spoke. "Shadow King, you respond to cries for help." Jin-Woo's eyes stayed cold. "You hurt the village." "We did what was needed," the man replied, "to prevent a worse future." Jin-Woo didn't move. "You want to bind me?" The man smiled like he thought he was clever. "We want to save this world from monsters." Jin-Woo's voice stayed even. "Then start with yourselves." The man's smile vanished. "Enough. Begin." The posts around the bridge flared with light. The shadows at Jin-Woo's feet resisted him, like the ground had turned into glue. Jin-Woo understood the goal now. Not kill him. Hold him. Bring out the relic again, or something like it. Jin-Woo lifted his hand slightly. His shadow soldiers rose around him, but fewer than usual. The field weakened them. The world pushed back. Still, they formed ranks. The theocracy soldiers looked uneasy. They had not expected discipline. They had expected chaos. Jin-Woo looked at them and made a simple choice. He would not play their game on their field. He would change the field. He stepped forward. The world tried to slow him. He moved anyway. His speed snapped the air. A soldier tried to swing a blessed blade. Jin-Woo was already past it. He struck the soldier's weapon hand. The blade fell and clattered across stone. A priest shouted and threw a burst of light. Jin-Woo turned his shoulder and let it hit his coat. The light burned the fabric edge but did not stop him. His shadows surged, taking hits meant for him. One shadow soldier got pinned by a spear of light and ripped apart. Jin-Woo did not look back. A new soldier rose in its place, formed from the darkness of the bridge itself. The gold-mantled man opened the small box. Inside was not a crown this time. It was a thin chain, like silver wire, humming with power. He swung it forward. It shot through the air like a snake aiming for Jin-Woo's throat. Jin-Woo caught it. The chain tightened instantly, trying to clamp down and feed on his will. Jin-Woo's eyes flashed. A shadow climbed up his arm like living armor again. The chain strained, then stopped. Jin-Woo pulled once. The gold-mantled man flew forward and slammed into the bridgestones. Jin-Woo stepped toward him. "You want to save the world," Jin-Woo said. "But you burn villages." The man spat blood and laughed. "You don't understand. The Sorcerer King is death, and you are worse." Jin-Woo paused. Sorcerer King again. So the rumor was real. Jin-Woo didn't waste more words. He turned his head slightly, as if listening. Somewhere, far away, someone was watching. Someone powerful enough that the world around them felt tight. Jin-Woo did not know the Watcher's name. But he knew this wasn't only the theocracy's plan. This was a world of kings. And kings collected tools. He released the chain and stepped back. Then he spoke, quiet but clear. "Enough." His shadow soldiers surged at once. Not to kill. To break formation. To open a path. They slammed into the posts around the bridge, cracking them. The sealing field flickered. Jin-Woo stepped into shadow. For a moment it resisted. Then it gave. He vanished. The theocracy group shouted and panicked. They had expected a captured king. Not a king who could slip the net, and in the burning village behind them, the people would later remember something else. The Shadow King did not stay and take praise. He left, like saving them was normal, like it was duty. Days passed, and Jin-Woo did not stay in one place. He moved like a quiet storm. He visited roads where caravans vanished. He walked through forests where monsters gathered. He stood on hills where he could see the pattern of danger. He did not do it for money. He did not do it for fame. He did it because this world was unstable, and he could feel it in the way fear gathered in people's eyes. He chose a mundane goal that made sense to him. He began to map the danger zones, like a hunter mapping dungeons. He sent shadows far out, one by one, like invisible scouts. They slid under doors, into caves, across rivers, through enemy camps. They watched, they counted, they learned, and slowly, Jin-Woo built a quiet net over the land. If a monster pack moved, he knew. If a convoy of armed men traveled at night, he knew. If a magic hotspot pulsed like a wound in the world, he knew. It was not a perfect net, but it was better than ignorance. And each day he learned more about the shape of this world's power. In Nazarick, Aura slammed her hands on a table. "He's everywhere," she complained. "I can't even walk outside without feeling like something is watching from the ground." Mare murmured, "Maybe he's just scouting." "That's the problem," Aura snapped. Then she pointed at a new report. "We found a shadow soldier in a ditch near a noble road. It didn't attack, it just looked." Albedo's voice was icy. "A spy in our lands." Demiurge adjusted his glasses. "A scout. He is building information. That is what smart rulers do." Ainz sat at the head of the table. He had another stack of paperwork beside him. This time it was forms about shadow sightings and public fear management. He wanted to cry. He did not have tear ducts. Ainz said, "Do we have confirmation he is entering Nazarick?" "No," Demiurge answered. "Not yet. His scouts remain near the surface. He is careful." Ainz let out a slow breath he did not need. "Good." Albedo leaned close. "Ainz-sama, allow me to remove his scouts." Ainz hesitated. "If we slap his hand, he might slap back. And if he can resist binding tools..." Ainz looked at Sebas. "Your assessment remains?" Sebas nodded. "He acts like a protector, not like a conqueror." Demiurge smiled. "Protectors can become conquerors when they decide the world needs their control." Sebas replied, calm. "Or conquerors can pretend to be protectors." For a second, Ainz felt like the room was full of knives, all smiling. Ainz made his choice. "We continue to observe," he said. "But we also prepare the meeting invitation. A simple message. No threats. No fancy language." Albedo blinked. "No fancy language?" Ainz leaned back. "Yes. I refuse to send a letter that sounds like a marriage proposal or a death sentence." Aura snorted. Even Demiurge looked amused. Ainz felt a tiny victory. Then he saw another form. "Request? Add Shadow King to list of royal titles." Ainz quietly pushed it off the table. Jin-Woo's scouts found something new on the 7th night. A convoy moved through the forest, guarded by fighters that did not walk like normal soldiers. Their steps were measured. Their spacing was perfect. Their leader checked the sky too often. They carried a heavy case on a reinforced cart. Not gold. Not food. Something that made the air feel wrong. Jin-Woo watched from the shadow of a tree. His eyes narrowed. He did not know the case's name, but he knew the feeling. It was like standing near a gate before it opened. A pressure that made the world feel thin. He sent a shadow soldier closer. The soldier slid through leaves without moving them. It reached the cart and placed a hand on the cart's shadow. Jin-Woo felt a pulse through the link. A sealing mark. A warning. This case is dangerous. Jin-Woo stayed calm, but his mind sharpened. If someone is moving a dangerous tool in secret, they are either afraid of it or excited to use it. He followed. Not rushing, not attacking. Learning first. The convoy headed toward old ruins near a rocky rise, a place where the ground looked dead and the trees grew thin. Jin-Woo felt another thing there too. A second presence. Ancient. Watching. Not from the convoy. From the world itself. Jin-Woo kept going. In the ruins, the convoy stopped. Men formed a circle. Priests drew symbols on stone. The case was set down in the middle like an offering. Jin-Woo watched from a broken wall. He could hear the words. He did not understand every piece, but he understood the goal. They were preparing an activation. Not a simple spell. A ritual. A chain of rules meant to force the world to do something. Jin-Woo's shadows shifted, restless. He did not like rituals. Rituals meant surprise. Rituals meant collateral damage. He could walk away. He could let the world handle its own problems. But he remembered the burning village. He remembered the child in the smoke. He made a choice. He would not let this tool be used on innocent people. Jin-Woo lifted 2 fingers slightly. Shadow soldiers spread out around the ruins, silent as dusk. The convoy guards tensed, sensing something. The leader shouted, "Form up." Too late. Jin-Woo stepped out of the broken wall's shadow and into the open. The moonlight hit his face. For the first time, many eyes saw him clearly. A man, not a corpse, not a skeleton, not rotting. Just a calm hunter with black eyes and a presence that made the air feel heavy. A priest pointed. "It's him." The leader barked. "Hold. Activate the field." The ground flared. Symbols lit up around the ruins. Jin-Woo felt it instantly. A stronger version of the sealing field. This one did not just slow shadow movement. It tried to cut the link between him and his army. Jin-Woo's shadow soldiers flickered. Not gone, but strained. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed. So this is their upgrade. He did not panic. He did what he always did. He adapted. He spoke one short command: divide. His army split into small squads. Some stayed close to him, forming a tight ring. Others slid outward, testing the field edges. Jin-Woo sprinted forward. A guard swung a sword. Jin-Woo ducked and drove his shoulder into the guard's stomach, folding him down. He did not stop moving. He reached the case. A priest screamed and threw a spell. A beam of light struck Jin-Woo's side. It burned. Jin-Woo staggered half a step. Then his shadow armor surged up and covered the hit. He looked at the priest. His stare alone made the priest step back. Jin-Woo placed his hand on the case. The case vibrated. The air around it pushed at his mind, not like a voice, but like pressure. Jin-Woo clenched his fingers and lifted. The case did not budge. A chain of magic held it to the ground. The leader laughed, shaking with excitement. "You can't take it. This field locks it. This field locks you." Jin-Woo's eyes stayed cold. "Then I break the field," he said. He stepped back and raised his hand. A massive shadow rose behind him again, taller than the ruin walls. The convoy guards froze. Even some priests hesitated. The giant shadow punched the ground. The ruins shook. Cracks spread through the glowing symbols. The field flickered. Jin-Woo felt the link to his army strengthen a little. He pressed. The giant shadow punched again, harder. Stone shattered. The symbol post snapped. The field screamed with light and began to collapse. The leader shouted, panicked now. "Stop him! Buy time!" The guards charged. Jin-Woo moved like a knife through a crowd. He did not swing wildly. He used quick cuts, quick steps, and clean angles. A spear thrust toward his chest. Jin-Woo turned and let it slide past, then struck the spear shaft, breaking it. A sword came from his left. Jin-Woo caught the wrist, twisted, and dropped the attacker with a knee to the ribs. His shadow soldiers pinned enemies down, disarmed them, and blocked spells like living shields. Then Jin-Woo felt it. A new pressure. Not from the theocracy. From above. From the night sky. A presence that felt old. Cold. The air shifted, and a suit of bright armor landed on a broken pillar with a heavy clang. It looked like a hero out of a story. It moved with calm confidence, like it had seen horrors and lived. The armor's voice came out low and steady. "So you are the new variable." Jin-Woo turned slightly, eyes locked on it. He did not sense a normal body inside. It felt like remote control, like a puppet with a mind far away. The armor continued. "You resist binding tools. You command shadows like an army. You appear where screams are loudest." The theocracy leader's eyes widened. "Platinum." The armor did not look at him. "Be silent." The leader shut his mouth fast. Jin-Woo's gaze stayed on the armor. "Who are you?" The armor tilted its head, someone who watches threats before they become disasters. Jin-Woo's voice stayed calm. "And you think I am a disaster?" "I don't know what you are," the armor replied. "That is the problem." The ruins shook again as the field weakened. The armor's eyes glowed. "This ritual is dangerous. If it finishes, it may tear something open." The theocracy leader shouted, "It will bind him. It will." The armor snapped its head toward him. "I said be silent." The leader flinched like a child. Jin-Woo understood something important in that moment. This hero was not here to help the theocracy. He was here to stop anything that could break the world. That included Jin-Woo. Jin-Woo took a slow step forward. "Then we have the same goal," he said. "Stop the ritual." The armor paused. Then, instead of answering with trust, it answered with caution. "Prove it," the armor said. It raised its hand. A wave of force hit Jin-Woo. Not simple magic. Not light beams. A pressure like a giant hand pushing him back. Jin-Woo slid across stone, boots carving lines. He did not fall. His shadows braced behind him. Jin-Woo's eyes sharpened. "So this is a test inside a crisis. Fine." He vanished into shadow. The armor's head snapped around fast, tracking. Jin-Woo appeared behind it and struck with his dagger. The blade hit the armor and sparked. The armor barely moved. It was strong. Jin-Woo did not pretend otherwise. He stepped back and changed tactics. He did not try to win the duel. He tried to win the situation. He sent half his shadows at the ritual circle. They attacked the priests. They knocked away chalk marks. They broke symbol posts. The priests screamed and tried to defend the ritual. The armor turned, torn between two priorities. Jin-Woo moved again, cutting through guards to reach the case. The field was almost gone now. The ruins glowed, then dimmed. The case trembled, free of some restraints. Jin-Woo grabbed it and pulled. This time it moved. The theocracy leader shouted in horror, "No, you can't take it." Jin-Woo lifted the case and stepped back into shadow, and the armor slammed down in front of him, blocking the path. The armor's voice was low. "If that is a world-breaking tool, you cannot simply walk away with it." Jin-Woo stared at it. "If I leave it, they will use it." The armor replied, "If you take it, you become the one holding the knife." Jin-Woo's grip tightened. The theocracy leader, desperate, shouted, "He is undead. He is evil. He—" One of Jin-Woo's shadows snapped its head toward the leader like a predator. Jin-Woo didn't even look at the man. "Be quiet," he said, and the words felt like ice. The leader fell silent. Jin-Woo looked back at the armor. "I don't want to rule this world," Jin-Woo said. "I don't want their tools. I want people to stop dying for someone else's plan." The armor paused again. For a moment, the watcher inside it seemed to weigh Jin-Woo's tone, not just his power. Then the armor said, "Then show restraint. Put the case down." Jin-Woo answered honestly, "I can't." The armor raised its hand again. Jin-Woo didn't wait. He dropped the case into his shadow storage in a single thought. The armor's hand hit empty air. Its eyes widened a fraction. Even it had not expected that. Jin-Woo used that half second. He stepped through shadow again, but the lingering field fought him, sticky and rough. He pushed through anyway. He appeared at the edge of the ruins, then again in the trees, then again on a hill. Each step got smoother as the field died behind him. He stopped on the hilltop and looked back. The ruins were chaos. The ritual circle was broken. Priests were shouting. Guards were bleeding. The armor stood still, watching the direction Jin-Woo fled. Jin-Woo did not feel victory. He felt weight, because now he held two dangerous tools from this world, and every powerful group would come for them. He turned and walked into the darkness of a tree's shadow. He vanished. In Nazarick, Aura's eyes were wide as she watched through her beast. "He just stole it," she whispered. "He took it like it was nothing." Mare trembled. That armor, it felt old. Demiurge smiled, thrilled. "So another player-related entity shows its hand. Fascinating." Albedo's nails dug into her palm. Ein-sama. He is collecting world-class items. He will become unstoppable. Ein stared at the viewing spell. He saw Jin-Woo's calm movements. He saw him break the ritual. He saw him refuse to kill people who were already beaten. And he saw something else. He saw a man who did not want a throne. Ein spoke softly, almost to himself. He is not acting like a conqueror. Demiurge tilted his head. Or he is acting like a conqueror who understands patience. Sebas, who had been silent, finally spoke. Ein-sama, if we keep treating him as an enemy, we may create one. Albedo snapped. We already have one. Ein's eyes glowed faintly. No, we have a problem. Those are different. He leaned back and felt the full weight of it. The Shadow King had disrupted the theocracy. He had drawn out an ancient watcher. He had stolen something dangerous, and he still hadn't even spoken his name to anyone. Ainz looked at the invitation letter draft on the table. Simple words. Neutral place. No threats. Ainz tapped the paper. Send it, he said. Demiurge bowed. At once. Albedo's eyes narrowed. And if he refuses? Ainz stared into the dark of his own throne room. Then, Ainz said, we prepare for a world where he makes his own rules. Outside, above ground, the Sorcerer Kingdom's people would soon hear new rumors again. Not just that a Shadow King existed, but that he had walked into a trap meant for kings, broken it, and walked out holding the knife that everyone wanted. 2 weeks passed, and the fear did not go away. It simply learned new shapes. People stopped staring at the sky. They stopped asking if the tier would open again. They started asking a different question instead. Where is he now? Sometimes, the answer came as a whisper from a road guard who survived a monster attack. Shadows saved us. Sometimes, it came from a village elder who hated admitting he was grateful. A dark man walked through the fire and carried children out. And sometimes, the answer came from nothing at all. Just a fresh set of footprints that ended at a patch of shade, like the earth had swallowed a person whole. Jin-Woo did not try to become a legend. He tried to become a warning system. At night, he stood on hills and rooftops and listened to the world, not with ears alone, with the quiet link he had built. His scouts were everywhere, spread thin like a net, a shadow under a bridge, a shadow at the edge of a forest, a shadow inside an empty wagon that moved from town to town. He didn't send them to scare people. He sent them to see problems before they grew. When a pack of monsters shifted closer to a farming road, Jin-Woo knew first. When a band of bandits moved with soldier discipline, Jin-Woo knew first. When a group of priests carried tools that made the air feel wrong, Jin-Woo knew first. The new world did not have gates the way his world did, but it still had sudden death. And Jin-Woo hated sudden death. One night, his net caught a spike of danger near a small trade route. A caravan had stopped. Their lanterns were still lit, but nothing moved around them. Even the horses were silent. Jin-Woo arrived without sound. He stepped out of shadow behind the last wagon. The smell hit him first. Blood, smoke, fear. A group of monsters circled the caravan. They were not big. They were not clever. But there were many, and the guards were tired. One guard held a shield with shaking arms. Another had a spear but no room to thrust. A merchant boy hugged a sack of coins like it could protect him. Jin-Woo didn't speak. He raised one hand. Shadow soldiers rose from the darkness under the wagons like they had always been there. The monsters rushed. The shadows met them. It wasn't a wild brawl. It was a clean crush. Shadows grabbed, pinned, and cut. Monsters that leapt were met in the air and slammed down. Monsters that ran were blocked by soldiers that appeared ahead of them. In less than a minute, the road was quiet again. The guards stared with wide eyes. The merchant boy whispered, "Thank you." Jin-Woo looked at the caravan. He checked faces. He checked wounds. He checked if anyone was trapped under wood. He did not ask for payment. He did not ask for praise. He simply turned away. One of the guards finally found his voice. "Who are you?" Jin-Woo paused. He could have given a name. He had names. He had titles. Some of them were forced on him. Some of them were earned. But names in this world were weapons. So he answered with the truth that mattered. "Someone who doesn't want you to die," Jin-Woo said. Then he stepped into shadow and was gone. Behind him, the merchant boy stared at the patch of darkness like it might open again. The boy hugged his coin sack tighter, then realized how stupid it was to do that after seeing what real power looked like. Deep underground, in a throne room that never saw sunrise, Ein Zualgaon was also dealing with a routine. His routine was not monsters. It was paper. Ein sat at a long table. Parchments were stacked in neat towers. Some towers were taller than Mayor. Ein stared at a form titled, "Citizen Request. Install more street lanterns to fight Shadow King." He set it aside. Then he opened the next paper. "Noble Petition. Declare Shadow King an enemy of the state." He set it aside too. Then he opened another. "Military Request. Add Shadow countermeasures to training." That one he didn't set aside right away, because that one was real. Albedo stood nearby, hands clasped, smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Ein-sama, the people's fear is understandable. It must be directed properly." Ein's skull face did not change, but his thoughts did. Directed properly, meaning towards someone else. Demiurge stood across the table, calm and pleased. "Ein-sama, we have completed a clean invitation. Simple language, neutral location." Aura leaned over Mare's shoulder to peek at it. "Let me see. If it's too fancy, he'll think we're trying to marry him." Mare squeaked and pulled the paper closer like it was a secret. Ainz held out his hand. Demiurge handed it over. Ainz read. It began with 3 titles, 2 honor names, and 1 phrase that sounded like a poem. Ainz lifted his head slowly. Demiurge's smile did not move. "Is it acceptable, Ein-sama?" Ainz stared for a long moment. Then he took a pen. He crossed out almost everything. He wrote a new version in plain words. Albedo blinked. "Ein-sama. That is very direct." "That is the point," Ainz said. He read aloud what he wrote. "Unknown traveler. I am Ainz Zualgaon, ruler of the Sorcerer Kingdom. We have both been targeted by the same enemies. I propose a meeting in a neutral place to prevent unnecessary deaths. If you accept, come alone. You will not be attacked. If you refuse, we will not pursue you. I wish to speak, not fight." He paused. Then, because the universe hated him, a servant brought in another form. "Request. Grant Shadow King the title Duke of Darkness." Ainz stared at it. Aura laughed out loud. Mayor covered his mouth. Even Demiurge looked amused. Ainz didn't move. He placed the paper gently on the pile and said, "No one is giving him a title. Do you understand me?" Albedo bowed. "Yes, Ein-sama." Demiurge bowed. "Of course." Aura grinned. "Got it." Mayor nodded quickly. Ainz handed the invitation back. "Sebas will deliver it." Sebas, who stood near the doorway, bowed. "Yes, Ein-sama." Albedo's eyes narrowed. "Ein-sama, I request to accompany him." Ainz spoke without looking at her. "No." Albedo's shoulders tightened. She bowed anyway. "As you command." Ainz watched Sebas leave, then leaned back in his throne. His mind ran through every possibility. If the Shadow King comes, we might learn what he is. If the Shadow King comes, we might die. He hated that both thoughts were true. Sebas found Jin-Woo on the 3rd night. Not by luck, by choice. Sebas walked a road outside E-Rantel where lanterns were spaced too far apart. The shadows between them were thick enough to hide an army. Sebas stopped under a lantern. He did not call out. He did not threaten. He simply waited. The darkness behind him shifted. Jin-Woo stepped out of it like a man stepping out of a doorway. His eyes were calm. His posture was relaxed, but ready. Sebas turned slowly, hands open. "You are not afraid," Jin-Woo said. Sebas bowed slightly. "Fear is a feeling. I do not let it command me." Jin-Woo's gaze stayed on him. "You work for the Sorcerer King." Sebas did not deny it. "Yes." Jin-Woo waited. Sebas reached into his coat and pulled out a sealed letter. He held it out with 2 fingers, careful, respectful. "A message. Sebas said. From my master. Jin-Woo did not take it right away. He watched Sebas's face. He watched his breathing. He watched his stance. Sebas stood like a man who could fight, but chose not to. Jin-Woo finally reached out and took the letter. He broke the seal and read in silence. When he finished, he folded it once and held it at his side. He looked back at Sebas. You think I will believe you will not be attacked? Sebas answered honestly. I cannot promise you will not be watched, but I believe my master's intent is real. He prefers control, not chaos. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed a little. And you? Sebas's voice softened. I prefer fewer graves. Jin-Woo stared at him. Sebas held his gaze without flinching. After a moment, Jin-Woo said, Where? Sebas named a place, ruins on a rocky rise, away from towns. A place with open ground and no civilians nearby. A place where a fight would not burn homes. Jin-Woo nodded once. Sebas exhaled softly, like relief was not something he enjoyed showing. Jin-Woo stepped back into shadow, then paused. He didn't turn around, but he spoke. If he lies, Jin-Woo said, I will remember you were the messenger. Sebas bowed. Understood. Jin-Woo vanished. Sebas stood under the lantern for a moment longer, then walked away with steady steps. In his mind, he did not pray for Jin-Woo to trust Nazarick. He prayed for everyone to stay alive. On the day of the meeting, the sky was gray. Not storm gray, just flat gray, like the world was holding its breath. Ainz arrived first. He chose a plain black robe, not his grandest. Still, he was impossible to mistake for human. His skull face and glowing eyes made sure of that. He stood in the ruin's center with his hands behind his back, posture perfect. If he acted small, it would be weakness. If he acted proud, it would be provocation. So he acted like a king who expected respect but did not demand it. Hidden around the ruins were Nazarick's watchers, Aura's beasts, invisible units, a few guardians held back by strict orders not to strike. Albedo was not supposed to be there. Of course, Albedo was there anyway, hidden, watching like a knife waiting to move. Demiurge had insisted on several just-in-case measures. Ainz had agreed to some. He had refused the cruel ones. He told himself that was enough. Then the shadows near a broken pillar deepened. Jin-Woo stepped out. No sound, no flare, just presence. Ainz felt it like a weight in the air. The man looked human, young, calm, black hair, black coat. But the shadows behind him did not behave like normal shadows. They stood too straight. They waited too sharply, like soldiers who could become real in a heartbeat. Jin-Woo looked at Ainz. Ainz looked back. For a moment, neither spoke. It was not awkward. It was cautious. Jin-Woo broke the silence first. So you're the Sorcerer King. Ainz's voice was calm and deep. And you are the one they call the Shadow King. Jin-Woo's eyes flicked. Annoyed. That isn't my name. Ainz paused. Then, carefully, like he was walking around a trap, he asked, Then what is your name? Jin-Woo held the question for a beat. Then he answered, Sung Jin-Woo. The name landed in the ruins like a stone dropped into still water. Ainz repeated it once to show he heard. Sung Jin-Woo. He did not add titles. He did not add, sir. He said it plainly. Jin-Woo watched him closely. You invited me because of the theocracy. Yes, Ainz said. They tried to bind you. They target me. They will continue. I prefer to reduce unnecessary deaths. Jin-Woo's face stayed calm. You also invited me because you want to know what I am. Ainz didn't lie. Yes. Jin-Woo nodded once, like that was fair. Ainz continued. You disrupted a ritual. You took a sealed tool. You took a binding relic. Those items can cause disasters if used improperly. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed slightly. So you want them? Ainz felt his non-existent lungs tighten. He chose words carefully. I want them contained, Ainz said. I want them away from those who burn villages to bait people. Jin-Woo's gaze sharpened at that. So you know. I have eyes, Ainz said simply. And I have enemies. patterns become clear. Jin-Woo took a slow step forward. His tone remained even. What are you, Ain's Uul Gaon? Ain's held the question, then answered with a truth that was also a shield. I am a ruler, Ain said. I protect my people. I maintain order. Jin-Woo's eyes moved across the ruins, as if he could feel the watchers. I can feel the ones hiding, Jin-Woo said. Ain's mind jumped. He can sense them. He kept his voice steady. I told you that you would not be attacked. Watching is not attacking. Jin-Woo's mouth moved slightly, almost a smile, but not warm. That's a thin line. Ain's nodded once. Yes. For a moment, the conversation held. Then Jin-Woo asked a question that hit harder than any spell. How many people did you kill to build your kingdom? Ain's mind flashed through images. The massacre at Katse Plains. The fear. The bodies. He did not feel guilt the way a human would. But he remembered the choice. He remembered the cost. Ain's answered, voice still calm, but heavier. Enough to end a war quickly, Ain said. Enough to make future wars less likely. Jin-Woo stared at him. You call that protection, Jin-Woo said. I call it reality, Ain's replied. The truth was, Ain's did not fully know if he was right. He simply knew he could not afford to look unsure. Jin-Woo's eyes stayed sharp. In my world, power like yours attracts people who want to use it. It also attracts people who want to kill you for it. The ones in white and gold are the second kind. Ain's nodded. They are both kinds. Jin-Woo's voice stayed low. They burned a village to pull me out. Ain's eyes glowed a little brighter. Then they will do it again. The ruins fell quiet. Then, from far away, a faint sound. A whistle. Not wind. A signal. Ain's felt a shift in the air. His hidden units tensed. Jin-Woo's shadows stiffened. Jin-Woo spoke quietly. We're not alone. Ain's mind raced. The theocracy. Or the Dragon Lord. Or both. Ain's lifted one hand slightly. His watchers did not reveal themselves, but they prepared. Jin-Woo's voice stayed calm, but his eyes hardened. If this is your trap, it is not, Ain said quickly. Then the attack came. A bright spear of light slammed into the ground between them, exploding dust and stone. Figures in white and gold poured into the ruins from multiple angles. This was not a small team. This was an execution group. One of them shouted now while they face each other. They wanted war. They wanted the Shadow King and Sorcerer King to blame each other. Ain's voice dropped into command. Defensive formation. A wave of magic rose around him, a barrier that shimmered faintly. Jin-Woo did not waste words. His shadow soldiers rose from every dark crack in the ruins. They formed ranks instantly. The theocracy fighters hesitated for half a beat, seeing the army appear like it was pulled out of the ground. Then they charged anyway, because they were trained for fear. Light magic flew. Chains snapped forward. Blessed blades cut through shadow bodies, but the shadows reformed. Ain's cast a spell that froze a cluster of attackers in place, locking their limbs like stone. He did not use instant death right away. Not because he couldn't, because he was watching Jin-Woo. He was watching what Jin-Woo would do. Jin-Woo moved fast, stepping through shadows between broken pillars. He struck weapons, hands, legs, pressure points, clean drops, fast disables. He only killed when someone forced it. A theocracy leader raised a relic and screamed words that made the air tighten. A binding field flared, trying to clamp down on Jin-Woo's shadow movement. Jin-Woo felt it and adjusted instantly. He stopped relying on long shadow steps. He used short shifts, short jumps. He moved in and out like a blade, slipping through armor gaps. Ain's watched, impressed despite himself. He adapts in real time. One attacker rushed Ain's with a shining blade meant to pierce magical defense. Ain's eyes flashed. Ain's raised one hand, and the attacker's body jerked to a stop, held by invisible force. Jin-Woo appeared beside the attacker and knocked the blade aside. For a split second, Jin-Woo and Ain stood close. Jin-Woo spoke without looking at him. Your people are behind me. Ain's mind froze. Then he realized what Jin-Woo meant. One of Aura's beasts had moved wrong. A theocracy fighter had seen it and was aiming a light spear toward that hidden spot. Jin-Woo's shadow soldier jumped into the path, taking the hit. It tore apart, then began to reform. Ainz felt a strange tightness in his mind. He protected my hidden unit. Albedo, watching from hiding, nearly snapped her cover from anger and confusion. Demiurge's eyes gleamed like a man watching a perfect experiment. The battle escalated. The theocracy fighters realized they could not handle both kings at once, so they tried to separate them. A squad rushed Jin-Woo, forming a circle of light posts. Another squad threw sealing charms at Ainz. They wanted to isolate, then strike with their strongest tool. Ainz's voice stayed cold. Foolish. He cast a spell that erased the ground under the light posts, turning it into a sudden pit. Several fighters fell, shouting. Jin-Woo used the opening to move, cutting through the circle before it could close. Then the real threat arrived. A silver chain, thin as wire, shot through the air like a snake. It didn't aim at Jin-Woo. It aimed at Ainz. It wrapped around Ainz's arm. For a second, the chain glowed with a greedy light, like it was trying to grab his will. Ainz's eyes flared. His aura surged. The chain strained, but held. The theocracy leader shouted, shaking with effort. "Hold him! Now bind the shadow!" Jin-Woo's eyes snapped toward the chain. He understood the move. They didn't want to beat Ainz. They wanted to lock him long enough to force Jin-Woo into a choice. Either save Ainz and be labeled his ally, or leave Ainz and be labeled his enemy. Jin-Woo's jaw tightened. He hated these games. He stepped forward. A theocracy fighter swung a blessed blade at him. Jin-Woo caught it with his shadow armor, then broke the blade with a sharp twist. He reached the chain and grabbed it. The chain pulsed, trying to push into his mind too. Jin-Woo's shadows surged up his arm like black steel. The chain went still. Jin-Woo pulled hard. The theocracy leader stumbled forward, dragged by his own weapon. Ainz felt the chain loosen. Ainz's mind ran fast. He can disrupt it without touching the caster's spells. It's like his shadows eat the control. Ainz snapped the chain with a burst of magic, shattering it into glowing fragments. The theocracy leader screamed, furious. Then a new pressure rolled over the ruins. The air got colder. A bright suit of armor landed on a broken wall with a heavy clang. Its eyes glowed with ancient focus. The platinum armor. Its voice carried across the battlefield. Enough. The theocracy fighters flinched. Some looked relieved. Some looked terrified. The armor's gaze moved between Ainz and Jin-Woo. "I warned you. Tools like these will break the world if you keep pulling." The theocracy leader shouted, desperate, "Great protector, help us bind them." The armor turned its head slowly. Then it spoke, and its voice was like a door shutting. "You are the ones tearing the seams," it said. The leader froze. The armor lifted a hand. A wave of force slammed into the theocracy formation, knocking fighters off their feet like toys. The ruins shook. Jin-Woo's shadows braced, ready to defend. Ainz's magic flared, ready to respond. The armor did not attack them again. It simply held the battlefield still, the way a strong adult stops children from breaking furniture. Its eyes locked on Jin-Woo. "You carry tools you do not understand," it said. "You also have restraint. That is rare." Its eyes moved to Ainz. "You wear the shape of death," it said. "You also keep order. That is complicated." Ainz did not like that word. Complicated meant the armor didn't trust him. Jin-Woo spoke first, calm but firm. "They used civilians to bait me. They used relics to leash me. I stopped them." The armor nodded slightly, as if it was recording that sentence. Ainz spoke next. "They seek war. They want the world divided and weak. They will not stop." The armor stared at them. Then it looked at the theocracy leader, who was bleeding from the mouth, still trying to crawl backward. The armor's voice dropped lower. "Leave." The leader choked. "We can't." The armor's eyes glowed brighter. "Leave, or I end you here." The theocracy fighters did not need more explanation. They grabbed their wounded and ran. not in good order. In panic. Within a minute, the ruins were quieter. Dust drifted in the gray light. Jin-Woo's shadows stayed up, still and watchful. Ainz's spells faded slowly. The armor remained, staring at both kings like it was deciding which one would destroy the world first. Jin-Woo broke the silence. "I didn't come here to make allies," he said. "I came here because I'm tired of being hunted," Ainz answered carefully. "Then we share a problem." Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed. "We do not share morals." Ainz's glow dimmed slightly, not in weakness, but in thought. "Perhaps not," Ainz said, "but we can share rules." Jin-Woo waited. Ainz spoke with the tone of a ruler offering a contract. "You will not attack my kingdom. You will not harm my citizens. In return, I will not pursue you. I will not allow my forces to hunt you without cause. If the theocracy acts, we will exchange information." Jin-Woo's eyes stayed cold. "And the tools I took?" Ainz's mind tightened again. "Here it is," Ainz answered honestly. "I want them contained. If you keep them, you become a target that drags war behind you." Jin-Woo's voice stayed steady. "If I give them to you, you become unstoppable." Ainz did not deny it. He simply said, "I am already feared." Jin-Woo looked away for a moment, eyes on the broken stone. Then he spoke, quiet. "In my world, people called me a weapon too. They tried to point me at their enemies." He looked back at Ainz. "I won't be pointed." Ainz nodded once. "Then do not be." The armor shifted slightly, like it was listening closer. Jin-Woo continued, "I'll keep the tools. I won't use them. I'll keep them away from people who burn villages." Ainz's mind screamed. That is not a guarantee. But Ainz also understood something else. If I push, he leaves. If I threaten, he becomes my enemy. If I try to take them, I risk a war. Ainz chose the path that kept the world from exploding today. "Then we agree on a temporary balance," Ainz said. Jin-Woo's eyes were sharp. "Temporary." Ainz added, "Because he couldn't help it. Also, stop letting people call you Shadow King. It makes paperwork worse." Jin-Woo blinked once. It was the first time his face showed real confusion. "Paperwork?" Jin-Woo repeated. Ainz stared at him. Then, in a moment that felt strangely normal, Ainz admitted, "Yes, paperwork." Jin-Woo looked at the ruined stones, then back at Ainz. A tiny sound left his throat. It wasn't laughter, exactly, but it was close. "Good," Jin-Woo said. "You deserve it." Aura, hidden nearby, bit her lip to stop herself from laughing out loud. Albedo looked like she might explode. Demiurge's smile deepened, like he was delighted that even jokes could be a battlefield. The armor watched them both, silent. Then it spoke, low. "You two are not allies," it said. "You are not enemies. You are a tension in the world." Ainz did not like that either. Jin-Woo didn't react. The armor continued. "If you pull too hard, the world snaps." It turned its head to Jin-Woo. "If you truly seek to reduce death, do it, without becoming a tyrant." It turned its head to Ainz. "If you truly seek order, do not hide cruelty behind the word." Ainz's glow sharpened slightly. Jin-Woo's gaze stayed calm. The armor stepped back. "Remember," it said, "I am watching." Then it lifted off with a heavy burst, vanishing into the sky like a falling star in reverse. The ruins were quiet again. Ainz looked at Jin-Woo. "Will you tell me how you arrived here?" Jin-Woo shook his head once. "I don't know. I fell through a tear." Ainz nodded, unhappy with the answer but forced to accept it. Jin-Woo stepped back toward a shadow. Before he vanished, he said one last thing. "If your kingdom starts burning villages to bait enemies," Jin-Woo said, "I will treat you like the others." Ainz held his gaze. "Understood." Jin-Woo disappeared into darkness. His shadow soldiers sank into the ground, leaving no trace. Ainz stood alone in the ruins, still as a statue. Then he spoke, quiet, to no one. "This world is getting too crowded." That night, Jin-Woo sat on a cliff above a sleeping town. He didn't know the town's name. He hadn't asked. He had simply watched it. Lights in windows. A dog barking once. A guard yawning on a wall. His shadows stood behind him in silent ranks, just far enough back to feel like a presence, not a threat. One shadow soldier stepped forward and knelt. In its hands was nothing physical, but Jin-Woo received the report anyway, like a thought placed gently in his mind. Theocracy movements. New routes. New supplies. New fear. Nazarick watchers. Still watching. Still cautious. The ancient armor. Still somewhere in the sky's distance, like a patient hunter. Jin-Woo let out a slow breath. He did not feel triumph. He felt duty. He had not found a way home. He had not erased the danger. He had only changed the shape of it. Jin-Woo looked down at the town again. He thought of the people who called him undead. He thought of the people who thanked him while trembling. He thought of Ainz's calm voice saying order like it was a shield. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, but in focus. A world like this could swallow weak people whole. Jin-Woo did not plan to let it. He stood up. His shadows moved with him, perfect and silent. He did not march into the town. He did not announce himself. He simply turned and stepped into the darkness behind a rock. Gone. Far beneath the earth, in Nazarick, Ainz sat at his desk again. A new stack of paper waited. On top was a fresh form. Public request. Make Shadow King Day a holiday. Ainz stared. He lifted the pen. He wrote one word, slowly and clearly. No. Then he paused and looked at another file. It was labeled in plain ink this time. Sung Jin-Woo Independent Entity. Ainz tapped the cover once, thoughtful. He did not smile. He did not relax. But a small part of him, buried under fear and plans and responsibility, admitted something he would never say out loud. The Shadow King was not mindless. He was not easy. He was not controllable. But he was also not a liar. Ainz closed the file and leaned back. Above, the new world kept turning. Two kings existed under the same sky now. One ruled from a throne. One guarded from the dark. And everyone else lived in the space between them, hoping that the line would hold.